What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor. We're going to be going live in about 5-ish minutes. We're just going to do a quick mic test to make sure everything is doing 5x5 and make sure everything is a-okay, and just have to go with the flow on that end just to double check on how everything's reading. It's been a little bit since we've done a live stream, so some of the controls have been updated. So let's go ahead and just put a timer on for about 5 minutes and we'll get started to look at the overall markets, to kind of look on what WTF has happened. Is this crash? What could be looking at for some levels, some support and resistance, and then we're looking at some of the stocks that could be setting up for some potential buying opportunities with this kind of a pretty strong downturn again. Again, it's been a couple days since I've been back. Making double thing is a-okay here. Boop. Fantastic. Hope everyone is doing great out there. I know it started a little bit early just to do a couple homework stuff in the sense of just double checking sound quality and everything like that. We'll need to post this link up and kind of push this out here in a second. Fantastic. Looks good. I'm getting a green bar. How you feeling about Lulu? What do they have earnings? Lululemon? Oh, they had earnings already today. Is it just today? On the 8th. Okay, they had earnings. They're at 2. What? Wow, they got a little knocked, didn't they? Yikes. They're looking like it's kind of bouncing off its previous low or its previous high at 100%. So we're hitting that marker around that 325 limit, which was its previous candle, we call it like a cup and handle breakout. That 325 level, that's well below the 50-day where we don't really want to see it at. Not sure. I don't follow Lululemon very closely, but I think, again, that stock has been on a major run here. And even with the downturn, has really got hit fairly hard. So looking for some of a pullback, looking for initially from 337 in that level. But looking for, again, I think got hit pretty hard. Again, I haven't read the earnings report or the reason why, but that thing does not look, hasn't been very pretty. It's been partaking in the sell-off that we've had here the last couple days. Let's see here. Okay, let me get the old screen out of the way here so I'll be able to see the charts here actually a little bit better. For calls, you had calls going into earnings. That's probably wasn't that got hit hard, because if the 5 and 8 moving averages cross through the 21, which we kind of see here, again with the earnings as we speak right now, it's at, let's just call it 330. We're right about this level here. Below the 50-day and its previous 100% move. So that is what I mean by 100% move. It's basically from this top up here. So that's kind of somewhat of a normal retracement on a pretty big FOMO. Oh, did it have? Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. JBot, my puts in fire. Nice. You put that's again, it's very difficult to choose a direction after earnings so that thing can move tremendously. Yeah, Lulu, initial support really looking around 325 to 316 to the downside. Even 309 could potentially look for some support. But as soon as we start seeing the 5 and 8 moving averages cross through the 21, which we have not seen in quite some time, that could be getting a lot of people scared and selling. A lot. Myron, Tesla, yes. There's just so much speculation on why the stock got beaten up, or did it go down because it didn't get in the S&P 500 or whatever, because Nikola's a new favorite trade of the day. Who knows? It's coming down here to this level in the 326 level, which we kind of pointed out before on a potential buy, we did purchase some Tesla today. I think I actually put that in the Discord just as a disclaimer. Large down day, not just because it's just a buying opportunity, but that being said, that overall support is coming in around that 618 from this previous swing high to low, and the 50-day retracement. Is it going to stop there? I don't know. Definitely, it can come all the way down further if it wants. It can even easily come down to 206 probably if the whole market does take a huge tank. But again, I can't predict these things. I don't have a crystal ball, so just have to be ready and to play the odds. Definitely a bearish day surprise since it was a short week and day after a holiday. Yeah, that's usually when it's the times where you don't expect it, it hits us. Even though I was basically incapacitated, we could definitely see the market pull back even more. Like, I don't think that people understand on how much we've come up in just a short period of time. And normally these trades, the selling. So let's go back. Let's just start with SPY real fast. Let me just type this in here. So with SPY, trying to compare this to, I don't know if these are going here. So as of right now, like within this market, we're only down about 8 or 9% in SPY. Ryan was calling me the closet bear. I am a closet bear sometimes. It's some of the time someone makes some of the best money in those little short periods of times. That being said, that previous market sell-off that we had, basically the mid of February into March, really was very steep, just like this. Because again, a lot of the algorithms, a lot of short-term biases, a lot of people just want to run to the door and just be super, super, super scared and just don't ask any questions, and then just hit that sell or hit that market sell, and doesn't give them the right chance to potentially rethink what happened. And remember, this whole time right here, we had multiple limit down days, and the amount of selling was really just pursued by the unknown. As of right now, we never know what the sell-off reason is until afterwards. That's the part of the game that we play. We can't tell the future because we'll tag this as something. We'll tag this as, oh, this was the tech sell-off of August and September of 2020 or whatever. That being said, we're still following these green, yellow, and red macaroon colors. We're looking for potential yellow to hold around $330 or $329 on the 50-day SMA on the daily chart for SPY. Looking for that to potentially hold. That being said, the market doesn't care. It doesn't care about my beautiful colored macaroons here to stopping here. That's just some previous resistance that we've seen here prior, and we don't have to go back too far to really highlight that. We've seen that here, kind of coming back down to the 50-day, tapping it, consolidating here just a little bit. These wasn't as strong as of a red day, but this is kind of the very similar selling off pattern. This candle right here, a lot of people are like, oh, that's a bull candle. I don't really follow candles directly, but this we start seeing the 5 and 8 moving averages cross through the 21. We could easily reach down back to around 315 level in SPY. That being said, tomorrow is going to be super important, as it is basically going to be considered the fourth day in the sell-off, or this decline in a lot of these stocks. And again, not everything's selling off. Let's be mindful of that. What's really selling off is the FANG, the very high-tech SaaS companies, the companies you see a lot on CNBC, and a lot of companies on Robinhood are selling off drastically. So just be super mindful of that. With this really strong momentum that we have down, it's going to be very difficult to say, oh, this is the bottom, I'm going to just start buying here. You basically have to take two different routes of okay, let me just buy a little bit when it drops 10%. If it drops 15%, I'll buy some more, and then kind of make a divvy it out what you willing to risk, because again, no one's going to buy the bottom directly. No one knows the bottom directly is anything. But that's being said, just be super mindful. And if a lot of people are saying like, hey, oh, how do I get out of my positions and things like that? Like, if you had a Tesla position or whatever and it went past your stop limit or the limit that you had in your brain, you should just get out without a doubt. Um, but if you have to make a plan when you enter each trade or investment, and the biggest thing that I always find and I struggle with sometimes still is when let's say I put on a trade, but then I turn that trade into investment. You're really breaking the rules in your brain, and then it really just manipulates different various things and just really deteriorates the overall strategy. And you start second guessing, and then you just kind of like, oh, it's only down a couple hundred now. Oh, okay, it's only down 2,000. Oh shit, now it's a totally, now I lost everything kind of scenario. That's definitely a lot of things here, Ted. This is basically the understanding of like what happens with a huge sell-off like this. For me, it's very difficult for me to trade this. Um, uh, the overall sense of, hey, the overall smoothness of the market flow, because right now we're experiencing a drag down, a sell off, and so forth. And it looks like YouTube is buffering here. Is YouTube buffering? What's going on with YouTube here? I got a message saying YouTube's reacting slow. Oh no, what's going on here? Sorry, one second. YouTube is receiving your YouTube is not receiving. What? Are you guys experiencing buffering? Anyways, well, I don't know where I was going until YouTube interrupted me, those punks. So basically what we're looking for is the overall, we could go down further. That overall message of how far can we go down? I don't know, no crystal ball, but we'll see how that plays out. Let's go ahead and look at some stocks here. A couple people said wanted to look at the VIX. We can look at the VIX. So the VIX is really difficult to judge because basically what happens with the VIX is it pops off, it literally pops its cherry, and then it comes slowly back down. It rarely you see it like this. This is a huge market sell-off, like once every couple of years kind of market move. But the VIX is notorious for these little pops, like right here, these little dips here within the VIX. So as of right now, the VIX has already topped here. The overall trend is still lower, but I think this is kind of just a little shakeup in the market. Yes, this can pull back a little bit and rebuild, but as of right now, it's not looking too rewarding. The trade is already gone if you wanted to buy VIX calls, in my opinion. All right, let's go look at the old Tesla. I think that's going to be on a lot of people's mind as well. As I said, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I did purchase about 10 or 11 shares. I had an order down here to basically buy in between like the 336 range. Of course, got executed on those and filled. Excuse me. And then looking for some potential higher momentum to come through here. If this continues to go down, because again, I know this is somewhat a falling knife in Tesla, but I'm completely saying I know it's a falling knife. I'm not trying to trick myself of like, hey, I know this is going to be the bottom in Tesla. Let me just load up here. I don't know that. I really don't. Like, I know that this has the 50 days of pretty strong moving averages without a doubt. But it can go lower. It can go substantially lower. The next really line of support here is going to be basically coming around the 293 range for Tesla. And then after that, it's kind of somewhat in free fall. And I think I had a limit around 230 and then basically wherever the 200 EMA lies. That's going to be your overall momentum to the downside for Tesla. On what happened, why is Tesla selling off? I have no idea why Tesla's selling off. I just know that people are taking risk off the table. People were scared, and of course, when something hits the all-time high, and then whatever news breaks, they can say, "Oh, Tesla's cushions or their seats and their cushions are actually not made of fake leather. They're actually made of real leather, and whatever reasons, it can go completely haywire there. Well, I saw a couple other stocks come through here. Sorry, guys, I'm getting a little bit slow today. Yeah, Apple's one. I think I saw Alpaca. Alpaca, you asked about Apple. Yeah, Ryan, that's a good point. Tesla really doesn't follow too many indicators because Elon Musk is just an alien, so he kind of just does what the hell he wants, and it just kind of does its own thing. So let it get beaten up a lot, and then we'll just see where it goes from there. With Apple, down nearly 7% today. That's another crazy one. That's like, WTF is going on here? Like, we had that great earnings report. Then we had the announcement of the stock split, and it literally just took off, like we talked about. When you start seeing a stock that's such a high market cap, like Apple or something like that, trade in between the 5 and 8 moving averages, you're just kind of waiting to see this kind of limit to potentially break to the downside. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. Like, we've seen all these really high flyers really break to the downside and really break strong to the 21 EMA, because the 21 EMA, yes, it's considered the average zone of how stock trades, but it's even really the 21 to 34 is going to be your average retracement. Even with this really strong down move, we're looking for Apple to kind of hold above the 107 to 108 limit. If that doesn't hold, we're looking for 100. Alan, thank you for the $2. He said buy the dip. I would. I'll add a little caveat to that. I could say you could buy the dip, but you have to be super knowing on what you buy. Just don't buy, like, I'm seeing so many other folks pumping Fastly and what is the stock I always see people pump, and other companies. I don't think they actually quite understand on what they do. I think a lot of people just don't take the time to understand on what the company does. Oh, it's a SaaS company, but I'm just going to buy at this limit. I think really what happens is the people who hold on to their stock actually know what they're talking about, and they also see on what's going on here. Looks like YouTube's having issues today, guys. I'm just getting an error. YouTube members just dropped off, such as viewers are expecting buffering. It looks like YouTube is getting throttled or something here. Sorry, guys. This sucks. JBot says Apple $80 pin. Maybe. You never know, right? That's where we're basically kind of quoting where the 85 to $86 is basically pulling around the 200 EMA. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting constant, like, these yellow flags from YouTube streaming service here just saying buffering. What up, DMC8282? Apple, first line of support for Apple is going to be around 108, 107. And then next limit's going to be basically down to 100. And then after that's going to be basically 90 to the $85 limit, to around those zones there. Buy puts on YouTube. Yeah. Buy those puts on YouTube. On Google, really, right? I don't even know how big of I don't think YouTube's like less than 5% of Google, right? Again, like, if you look at Apple at 80, if we look at a much longer time frame, let's go to like a monthly side. Apple has had these huge pullbacks before. So Apple, this is a monthly chart, or sorry, this is a 20-year chart of Apple, and each tick is a month. So just be mindful of this. Apple's been around for quite some time. In 2012 to 2013, had that huge pullback. Guess what? It came right to the 34 EMA. I don't know why that color has changed on this chart. Let me change that back to orange, or it should be. As of right now, if Apple wants to come back, guess what it's going to line up to? $64-ish. Will it get to that level? I don't think so. But I can't say it cannot, right? Anything is possible in this market. With Apple just being such a dominant king, we just had that huge stock split, It had one of the best quarters ever. It's got some stuff coming out, I think, in like 2 weeks, talking about their next iPhones or their next whatever product they're going to be pushing on us. We'll see on what really gets thrown at us around that time. But like well, should you buy some here? That depends on your overall understanding of how long you want to hold this. It's going to be very tough to buy calls because it's going to really come down to the timing of things, unless you're giving yourself 180 days or even longer dated call options, because you're really going to look for leaps on when the market really gets beaten up on these. Because guess if you look at some of these call options, especially in Apple, you're going to see a lot of those longer dated calls, basically the 500 days out, they just drop like flies, being down 20-30% in a single day. But yes, they're still cost well over $1,800 to $2,000. But if those come to fruition and the market starts printing up again, those can easily be double its value in a very short period of time. That's the kind of the yin and yang you have to play with the overall market. So just be very careful out there. That's the really the biggest thing I wanted to instill and do the takeaways for today is that yes, markets do correct, markets do sell off. But if you lose your head and just go crazy and run to the door like every other short-term minded person or person that doesn't quite understand what they own, you got to be very careful and mindful of that. Elements 1331. I really do want the market to crash. We'll do some good long-term buying. Yeah, like it's. I wouldn't say you want it to crash, but I would say yes. It's a great looking at like this is a buying opportunity. It's just like in nature; it needs to be flown out. I agree, Ryan. Jay Powell must be on vacation, or he's just sobering up from his Labor Day partying weekend in the Hamptons. SoftBank. What about SoftBank? I don't know. I haven't really read too much about whatever the allocations are or what people are saying that they did. But again, the market is just it's going to be do its own thing. It doesn't care about anyone else in the chat. It doesn't care anyone else. It does whatever it wants, and we'll just see how it plays out. Brian says Upwork and Rocket. I don't know the ticker symbol for Upwork, but we can look at Rocket. Rocket had earnings, really came down pretty substantially. Looking for that 21, basically around the 25 to the $25 limit to hold. But again, the market did take a toll and sold off pretty substantially, taking a lot of stocks down with it. We can see that movement really come down to the 200 EMA. With these large candles, really large amount of candles, down 7, 8, 10% on a couple days, looking for potentially a hold around the 200 EMA for $22. I really want to look at this at a different time frame, like a 4-hour chart, and that basically tells you a little bit of better momentum here. With this, we see the 5 and 8 already crossing through, but we have not seen the 5 and 8 moving averages to slowly stop curling down. We're seeing a little bit of resistance here at the previous swing high to low 50% retracement at 22.58. We're looking for that potentially to hold in the short term, but these moving averages are still pointing aggressively to the ground, meaning they're pointing in the direction they want to go. And that's saying with the 21, 8, and 5, we need to start seeing these curl up. Again, anything can happen in the market tomorrow. If we get some kind of stimulus somehow magically passed or some kind of magical vaccine right off the bat, but you just got to be super mindful of like, hey, anything can happen. Looking for some further downside, we're basically going to be looking for that support around $20 if things continue to go lower. But that 200 EMA around that $23 to $22 could be a potential holding pattern unless the rest of the market wants to take a dump, lack of better words. JBot, yes, SPX puts made you a lot of money in a very short period of time. Be it to be definitely 100% precise about it. Yeah, the SoftBank stuff, I understand the whole whale that basically sold off all the Apple, Teslas, Facebooks, and things like that. I think that they were just I wouldn't say manipulating. They were just buying calls, and then when you to buy calls, the market makers have to basically hedge those bets. So they have to buy the stock. So it just constantly runs up the whole process of we've seen here and just that huge crash. So if we're looking here on the Qs or the noodles, we call it the QQQs, with this huge momentum down here, it's very difficult to say where the bottom is going to lie, because the Nasdaq is a very tech heavy, focused on like the fastest growing and the coolest companies in the world, lack of better words. With that being said, we have aggressively gone to the downside, and there isn't any sort of signs of a potential bottom. Like, I don't believe in the overall understanding of RSI for a bottom. Looking for, again, that QQQ around 270 makes somewhat sense, because guess what? Guess what that limit is? That red dotted line is that 50 SMA. Guess who follows the 50 SMA? A lot of other technical people, a lot of other funds follow the 50 SMA, being somewhat of a psychological level of like, oh, it's the 50 simple moving average. Oh yeah, that's 270. That being said, the next logical level is basically all the way down here at 235. That's another huge drop, but that's going to be the next psychological level without a doubt if the selling continues. We've seen that here, basically from that previous swing high to low. We saw kind of really cut through really fast, aggressively through that 50 EMA there. So the white line is the 55 EMA, and then the red line is the 50 SMA, which is a simple moving average. But with seeing this moving averages, the big component here is if the 5 and 8 start crossing aggressively through the 21 here, which is the yellow line, we can see, again, more of that selling pressure setting up, and that potential further downside to continue and really get somewhat of in a jam if you're trading options and within a week or 2 week time frame. Google, let's look at Google. Oh, there goes that message again from the YouTube. Yeah, Google, again, looks just like the NASDAQ, coming back down to its previous swing high to low. So we're just hitting that limit where we were previously, before the whole pandemic crash of the virus within Google. We are coming back to that level where it took us a lot of momentum and movement to really break above that, to see on how that really just kind of plays out here. Seeing that really strong momentum come through in the sense of holding this 1530 level. Again, that lines up with that 50 SMA as well. Yeah, YouTube's crashing like the market. I know. I should look up if they're having overall issues or just some kind of network issues on one of the data centers. Yeah, this is somewhat of a, I don't like to do crazy things, but it's somewhat of a free fall in the sense of like, hey, things are really beaten up here, and things are really just taken out to the woodshed. And guess what? Technology companies are the first ones to really be taken out. Yes, we can do Disney. Yes, love the mouse. So Disney is actually one. Guess what? It was up today. Surprise, surprise. Like, what? Disney was up? Why? I don't know, because it's a great company. That being said, we're still hitting that ceiling of resistance of that 137, which we talked about. That being said, it was still up nearly 2% today, while everything was down 5 plus, depending on what looking at my portfolio, in the sense of longer term options or calls, or even stock. Like Apple was down 7%. Tesla was down. How much was Tesla down? It was a lot today. It was down like 80, 90 bucks. That's a lot. But with Disney here, which who just pointed that out? Well, looking for that 21 EMA to potentially hold here. We're getting a little bit of chop up here again with the overall market getting kind of shooken up here. That being said, looking for that 137.50 to kind of be potential overhead resistance to the downside. We're looking for some support around 125. So not seeing anything completely break out here. We're just kind of being a steady eddy here and looking to potentially start trying to knock on the door some more at 137. Dan, we can look at KO. Thanks for the nice comments, my friend. Zach says, I have two Tesla 340 put at 911 with a break even at 315. What do you think I'll make money on it? I'm not sure when you bought it, but if you bought it today, you're pretty a happy camper. That seems pretty awesome there. Let's see, at 340. Johnny, all the cash. Thank you for the becoming a member, my friend. Thank you very much. But again, looking for that really 340. You have to give me a little bit more there, Zach. On is my break even's 317. You bought options that are expiring on Friday. So Zach, that's a little difficult to. I need more information on that in the sense of like the momentum to the downside. To see on how that plays out on the sense of what price you bought it at. And if you bought it today, depending on what time you bought it, you should be up on the position because Tesla really sold off towards the end of the day. Um, can you explain options and why people think Japan caused this tech dip? Um, I think the best way to explain it, what happened was the overall. So when market makers buy options, so when you go into the Tesla bracket or something like that, and you buy like the October 16th, let's say, let's just do a nice round number. Let's do like a $500 call. All right, you're out there buying the 500 call for about $1,200. Okay, you're buying those calls. The market makers give you those options. Basically, you have to buy from them for them to make their portfolio or their overall segment balance. They have to hedge it. So they can't just give away free amount of shares. So they have to go into the open market sometimes and buy 100 Tesla stocks at that in that giving time frame, and to kind of hedge it. Because you're giving the right to you're buying it from them or selling it from them depending on what you're doing. So they have to potentially really hedge their book, and that would cause this huge run up in the market. The best way to explain it, I know it doesn't honestly make too much sense. So people kept on buying call options, and of course the market makers have to hedge against it. So to hedge against it, they need to have that collateral in a sense. So while you're buying the call option for $1,200, if you bought 10 stock options of Tesla, which was around that, no, like 1,500, that just makes it an easy amount of like $40,000 of money instead of just paying the $2,000. And it made a huge run up because it just made it gave jet fuel to this move here, and the lack of better words, if that makes sense. It ran up this overall market because of folks using the cheap money of options, because options you can get a lot more leverage for cheaper price, which I think most people understand that. Instead of buying one call options at 500, you can, if you would try to buy 100 options, 100 stocks at once, it's going to cost you a lot of money. Like it's going to be a substantial amount of money compared to what the call option would cost you. So that being said, we're looking for that potentially that really just drove up that market. It just literally poured liquid nitrate on, liquid fuel on someone on a rocket and just gave it a boost and just continued to fly higher while they were just pushing the call options out, and the market makers would have to buy up the stock, which was basically creating a buy the dip scenario. But again, that can only last for so long because one of those parties is going to run out of money, or you're just going to stop getting out to take profits. And that's what happened, I think. Yeah, I'm sorry, DMC8282. YouTube's having issues tonight. I'm sorry. Can you check SQ? I have calls in December through March, wondering if they could be hold. SQ, let's take a look at SQ. Oh, shoot. SQ, Another strong company. So I own actually PayPal more than I do SQ, but this is kind of coming down to that 100% move here, like we just talked about. And a lot of these stocks that come back previously to that move, which is somewhat considered or indicative of a potential trend reversal. I mean, a trend, not a trend reversal in like a huge trend change, but the overall trend reversal of potentially a mindful stop or a psychological stop there. With that movement again to around stopping or at that 55 SMA at $137.47, $133.47. If that can hold, that's going to be a short-term hold. That's a very interesting candle there. Even today was kind of just pushing above that 50 SMA as well. If we can get above 140, that could be a very positive sign and potentially making its way back to 147. To the downside, we're looking for the next support if it breaks 133. By breaks, I mean it has to close below 133 on the daily chart. It can have the wick. The wick can go all the way down to the 200 EMA, but long as it closes above the 133, in my book, it's still good. Because what happens intraday is just a little bit too much for me to follow. So I really just look at where it closed. I do look on where the overall wick has taken us on the range, which again, that's a large range in a stock like this. Even though it's a sub $200 stock, that's a pretty large range, basically from 150 all the way down to 134. We're talking nearly $20 in a day. That's pretty massive. Again, with that being said, we're looking for that potential, the hole between the 140 to 133 range. But again, just a big but, if the overall market wants to continue going lower, that could take SQ and all these other sections with it. I think even though it had a fantastic quarter, I think that it still could come down, even though with the overall Qs, by the Qs, I mean the QQQs in the overall tech industry taken down, because we have seen a significant amount of damage in the overall market, and a lot of the stocks are not ship-worthy yet. So that's basically to kind of give a better understanding of like, hey, we took a big blow. Let's kind of regroup. Let's kind of patch up our wounds, build a stronger base, and then we'll see where we can go from there. And the thing too, if you're not able to sleep at night, Johnny, with those options way far out there with calls on SQ, it might be best to sell, because if it's too big of a position, sometimes you can always just get back in, right? Zach says I bought it around 8:55 today in Tesla. Let's see here. Where was the Tesla at 8:55 this morning? How did you buy it at 8:55? Would you buy it like pre-market, or you're in a different time zone? I'm gonna say you bought it right around this level. So if you bought, you made money if you bought that put, right? If you probably made a nice hefty change on that. If that was me, I can't. It's hard for me to short Tesla, but if you made a nice profit on that, I would get out. That's my honest opinion, because that is a nice little move to the downside you got there with Tesla. Wesley, what's up, my friend? Wesley, thank you for the nice comments and the get well for after my surgery. I really do appreciate it, my friend. Dude, SoftBank is trying to get their money back from their bad investments from WeWork. That's a great way to put it. Wow, Johnny, you got 12K in SQ calls. Wow, that's a lot. Dan KO. Yeah, we can look at KO. KO is Coca-Cola, right? Of course, KO is going to be a little bit different than what the other stocks we just recently looked at. This is not a technology intense company, but it's still a stock and it has been around for quite some time. Looking for, again, the previous swing high to previous swing low. The 618 lines up at around $51.03. Looking for some potential overhead resistance. We're seeing a lot of potential support around the 200 EMA, so around $48.88. Even though being down nearly 2% today, we could see some potential support coming in around that 48.84 to the downside. to potentially have this hold and potentially make its way back up to 51. Really strong support, basically around the 48.75 to $48 range. If that breaks, we're really looking for some more potential down to around 47, even down to 45. But if we can get this grinding higher and this overall movement to the upside, that $51.03, that if we can get, again, Coca-Cola, I don't know what the potential catalyst would be for Coca-Cola, but again, it's a nice steady Eddie company. Even if we do get in a recession or whatever you want to call it, or bear market, people like to run to these and they get back to the staples, they call it, and really getting above that 51 to potentially that 55.03 range would be the next overhead target, my friend. Mm-hmm. All right, the chat's moving really fast. It looks like it's kind of jittering around as long as YouTube. Zach, you're very welcome, my friend. Again, Zach, when you entered that trade today, what was your mindset? Where you're like, hey, this is going to be a quick day trade, or this is going to be an investment? Like, be very mindful when you make the derive from those two different decisions. That's one of the more important things when before you enter a trade or investment, have that mindset of why am I doing this, and what is my outcome for the good and bad or the ugly. Yeah. GTFO. There's basically a lot of people did buy Rocket Mortgage. Again, you're kind of somewhat seeing that in the market. Someone's saying FB, Facebook. Of course, Facebook is one of the ones that looks. There goes the YouTube message again, guys. Sorry, just popping up my secondary screen with this big yellow bar saying YouTube sucks. Basically, with this, Facebook is coming back down to the 34 EMA, since it's that previous target around 169.98. That's that 618 from the previous swing high to previous swing low. But again, this has been hit just like the overall other tech sections. That overall movement is pretty steep to the downside. It's not as steep as we've seen with other stocks, because the 5 and 8 is still somewhat further away from the 21 EMA, so that's going to be a great little thing to be looking out for. And the volume wasn't that high today compared to other stocks that really got kicked out and really kicked around today. So be mindful of that. Sorry, guys, chat's going really fast today. How do you feel about AMD 90 calls expiring January 2021 and 150 Amazon? You saying you meant Walmart and 160 calls expiring in March? About 12K worth of options in these two dates. I have longer calls in AMD as well. Mine are around March and or were they March and something else? They're well 250 plus days out. 1 second, let me adjust myself in the chair. There we go. AMD, I still love AMD. This is one of my bigger winners to this year, without a doubt. Looking for that support potentially around $78. It can even come down to $73, honestly, for support to the downside. If you're looking at such a longer time frame, we should look here on the weekly side. I'll look on the weekly side. And again, we're kind of coming down to the 8 EMA, which is a potential somewhat of a hedge fund like buying opportunity. That is basically that movement that we see where people could be picking it up. And we also see the parabolic SAR dots coming in around the $74 to $73 limit there. So be super mindful of that. And even to the downside, even more to the 21 EMA to $67. But I think AMD is a huge catalyst for so many other things that are going forth within the chip manufacturing, really just taking over and kicking Intel to the side and just really coming back from being beaten up and just being a completely roundabout movement on that. Ryan, thank you, Ryan, for becoming one of the members. I really do appreciate that. Thank you, my friend. Make sure, Ryan, anyone who has become a member today, ping me in Discord so I can add you to the member tab and the group within Discord members, please? I think Johnny was the other one who just added today as well. Really do appreciate it. Thank you, Ryan. So AMD, I think, is strong, but if the overall market wants to go lower and sell off, it's going to be more difficult. But being mindful that $73 limit is where I'm looking at. And then you talked about Walmart, and Walmart, I think, has a lot going for itself too. I really do love Walmart. This 137 range is very interesting here. Potentially can even come down to the $133 limit there as well. My overall target for Walmart is around 160. So it's basically what you are suggesting as well. You think you said you had the 150 and 160 call options? Roy, oh, another member. Thank you, Roy. Appreciate that. Roy, if you as well ping me or message me in the Discord, and I'll add you to the member tab as well. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. With that momentum with Walmart, it's a super strong company. It has had even look on the daily chart, it's had some pretty unique fluctuations without a doubt, and a lot of movement in the stock. It's come down drastic where we're currently looking at, but it's kind of coming back down to the 21 EMA. So that's somewhat normal with those parabolic SAR dots. But these are very large candles to the downside. They're not very small ones. So be mindful that we lost some momentum in the stock, but looking for some support basically around 137, even down to the 133 limit for the old Walmart. Let me just I'm gonna put this move up here. Make myself a little note here to make sure to look at those. Thank you everyone for becoming a member. I really do appreciate that. Wow. Alpaca, what's up, my friend? Can you check out FF? Is that what's that? Fuel something? What was that? Oh, I just typed that. FF. Yeah, this one. Sadly, just looking at the chart here with the 5 and 8 already crossed through the 21 here, Alpaca, and seeing the 5 and 8 continue to point lower to the ground, we're looking for initial support really coming in around the $11 range, which is that 200 EMA here on the daily side. But this is a pretty large downtick here. There has been substantial amount of damage already to the stock, and it just has not been able to really get out of its own way to potentially make a strong comeback. We've seen pullback in these guys before here, but we've seen a pretty strong recovery. That being said, this can continue going down and just potentially make an about face and go the other direction. But as the charts it looks like it potentially could kind of peter off here around the 11 to 1150 range. If it really breaks below that, we could be potentially looking for around the $10 limit there, Alpaca. Because if we want to start seeing this to the upside, we need to stop seeing these moving averages pointing to the ground and starting to curl to get more parallel to the 200 EMA. Excuse me. I don't want to cough because it hurts the Hello Kitty out of my stomach. For that overall move between the 5 and 8, need to start curling here sideways and start building a base here, and to start seeing how that overall plays out there. Man, thanks for the chat, guys. You guys are fantastic questions and stocks today. Yeah, Big C has had a huge move. Like, that's the one I just cannot touch. Would love to buy Microsoft. Ryan says, I would like to add Microsoft as well. Like, why is this not typing? Microsoft is literally I think it's got one of the ones that have beaten up the most, in the sense of like the overall moving averages are really not been really failing on the overall supports to the downside. So we've been a nice steady 80 run here, but a lot of the moving averages have been very close to it. Like this hasn't just taken off like a Tesla or an Apple, and just really just driven away from its moving averages. This thing has really just taken on here and just really broken through some key moving averages here. So what we can do here is kind of give us a somewhat of a better understanding from a Fibonacci extensions here, some of the previous swing high to the low here. We're see, oh, this didn't click where I wanted it to. So look at that. I don't make this stuff up. This is the Fibonacci extension. So what you look at is the previous swing high to low to the high again, um, and we're hitting that 1618 at $202.03. So that's basically a limit where we could be potentially seeing some support. I want to kind of compare this to. Oh, let me go here. I'm gonna do this. Oopsies. Here. Yeah, that looks the same. Let's go all the way here. And we have the 103.77 to 196.9. So in this range, I think we could potentially see a bottom. Those are pretty strong numbers there. I'm going to do one of these here. So I want to see if this Microsoft can kind of fall into these penalty box or this overall movement in the stock here. Let me get these out of the way, kind of make this look a little bit neater. Again, that doesn't mean it's going to stop here and just trade sideways. We can easily come back down to the 183 level, but I think that this overall movement has been somewhat extended too much. Actually, let me go down to the 190. There we go. Make it this wide. There we go. Could be basically what we could be potentially looking for, even though to the extreme level, extreme levels it can go all the way back down to 132 or even lower, but that we're not in the same state of the market as we were back here. Just being mindful of just giving myself some parameters on what to look at. So when I'm at the end of the day or during the day, when I'm skipping through my charts, I can kind of give myself a reference point of like, okay, this is potentially where there were strong targets. So basically, I have the topper band here, which is around 200 to 202 potential support, and then the next level support was around 190 to 192 to the downside. So there's going to be my both level support. Normally, if it wants to break through the first one, it's going to be trading sideways in between those two market moves there. JBot Sony, what's Sony's ticker symbol, my friend? Chegg, which moving averages do you use? Which moving averages do I use? So I use a lot of, and Dan, I use the EMAs, exponential moving averages. I use the 5, 8, 21, 34, 55, and 200. And then I just use one single SMA, which is simple moving average, is the 50-day on this chart. I have other ones that I do other things on. The futures are down. Yeah, futures are down a half a point. Again, we were down multiple percent, so half a percent is nothing right now. Just but very careful, Wesley. Like I don't want you to freak out because anything can change. Just remember that normally we want to see we start seeing down markets of 3-4% in the after hours market. That's when you're concerning. Like normally it's kind of quiet. Everyone's having their dinner, relaxing, and watching the Umbrella Academy on Netflix. I don't know what people do. When the market's not trading or whatever, but they're looking for that overall movement to kind of potentially see, and just don't really tie myself and associate that number with the potential going up or down. Dan, buying QQ puts on open, that's usually not my cup of tea. It's very risky because again, those puts have such a high premium right now, and if we get any kind of bounce or a rebound, that premium is going to get kicked out, and you're just going to leave with your two front teeth and your front hands, not being able to do much. Let's see here. Thank you guys. This chat's been fantastic. I hope everyone's having a fantastic time this evening. Let's see here. ATV, yeah, Activision. Like I think I told you, I got out of that one. I actually had a I had a stop limit on it, and it got out. It got me out for me. That being said, it got out basically around that 55 EMA here. I think I got around that. I had around that 55 EMA. So when it kind of sold off pretty hard, I got out of it. Thank God. With this one, it wasn't even a large position, honestly. We saw that kind of that squeeze building up, looking for that potential move higher to break above $84 to $85. Then the market decided to sell off, and then boom, Thursday, Friday, and then Tuesday today, just took us out, and really wasn't a pretty day for Activision. For Activision to potentially make some kind of recovery, that's going to be a difficult one. Let me see if I can find something. I can't really. It's going to be a difficult one to see. Let me look here real fast for you, my friend. Yeah, 78 there. That's not going to help. Let me go in a little here. So this looks a little bit better. So it hits the 1272 extension. So around $75.82. If this potentially breaks, we can be looking for some more downside around 72.55. And then really that 200 EMA is basically kind of coming down there. DMC 8282. So I love you, Ken. I love you too. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm glad to be back with everyone and be pumping out some wonderful videos and doing some fantastic more live streams with everyone, especially in one of these really trying times in the market. Can you look at PSX? I don't know what that is. Let's look at it though. Oh, Phillips 66. Okay. So as you can look at this, this is looking like this wants to continue going down because we have the 5 and 8 moving averages well below the 21 EMA, which is the yellow line. The parabolic SARs are above it as well, and just kind of continue just trending lower here, trending lower, potentially looking for some support to come in. Let's do a look. I don't know if it's going to give us the best numbers here, but we'll look here. Yeah, looking for around that $60-ish to kind of hold potentially at that limit. If that doesn't hold, we can looking for some more downside to around the $49 to $50 range within oil, like because that doesn't look too healthy of a chart. Because we really need to see that 5 and 8 moving averages to stop going down because it's still pointing slightly at an angle to the downside, and start having these kind of level off here, potentially building a base around here at 60 or even down to around the $49, $50 level there. Not saying it can stop here at 55. I'm not sure. Again, no crystal ball here, but you have to be super mindful that things need to start proving itself, especially on Phillips 66, to start seeing that overall downtrend to kind of slow down and start seeing some momentum to the upside. Ken, do you use moving averages crosses or just use them as levels? I use them as a cross and a level. So if the 5 and 8 moving averages cross to the 21 to the upside, that's going to be a potential trend higher. If it does the opposite, if so, like here, you saw the 5 and 8 moving averages cross to the downside, that continue to the trend to the downside. If you saw the 5 and 8 cross to the upside, that's potentially a trend break and wants to reverse and go to the other direction. So that, but again, looking at those time frames, you're really looking at a very short period of time, and those trades usually lie within a couple days to a couple weeks. Rather than looking at longer term stuff, you're looking for around the 34 or 55 EMAs for longer term trades there. Wesley, yes, I am picking up some stocks on the dip. I bought Tesla today at 336. I had a movement there. I bought Apple at like 113 some. I did some. What else did I do? What else did I do? Let me hold on. I want to be somewhat transparent here. The Tesla I said about. What else did I? Oh, pins. I bought some pins, and I liked TSM. Sold some puts in that. Netflix. Yeah, let's look at Netflix, Ryan. Netflix, of course, being the technology section and the overall movement of technologies. Surprisingly, it has not been beaten up as much as the other ones that we just saw. So this is actually a really good pick, Ryan. We're seeing against that potential top here around $552. It has broken through the 21 EMA, but again, guess what? It's kind of holding that 50-day SMA here in below the 34 and 21. So that limit here around 505 to 508 would be a nice buying opportunity, honestly. But with the overall market really getting slapped around and not really performing as much as we would like, be very mindful that this could easily come down to the 492.23 level, and even down to around the 475 if the market wants to continue going lower. But I think if this can make a nice strong base and a nice reversal here, this can easily come back, because again, this has not been beaten up as much as Microsoft or Tesla or Apple we just saw. So this is a nice little candidate there without a doubt, Ryan. DMC 8282. I have 450 shares of Apple. I know that's awesome, dude. Is that before the split? Ryan says Ken only buys penny stocks. You're funny. You're super funny, Ryan. Oh, you got some Tesla today? Nice. Again, this Wesley, full disclosure, I'm holding mine. Those are stock, and I'm holding it long term. Do you think that the trade commissions will ban billion-dollar hedge funds to stop buying them from making these volumes of buying? And do they think the Mitsubishi-san and the SoftBank Group will go scot-free after making millions? Yeah. I'm just gonna refer back to the past of how often have you seen or heard of hedge funds or investment groups get into a lot of trouble? They might get a slap on the wrist and maybe pay a small fine, but you're talking international waters now. It's gonna be very difficult to really to regulate that and really maybe get someone in trouble. I look at dividend review. Yep. Next premium is juicy. Ryan SQQ, NASDAQ, or SPY? What do you mean? CVS. Yeah, CVS, that's an interesting one. Let's look at CVS. Oh, poor CVS. That is getting a smack on the face. Let's look at what this is looking like here. Looking for potential support. Why is this doing that? Potential support if this moving averages can start curling, potentially start building a bottom here around 58 or even 61 if it wants to make a stronger reversal here. But this is a very interesting target because we did have a squeeze. It fired short, really just kind of hitting these very low levels here. Nothing too exciting at CVS. But again, a lot of damage has been done. Not looking too fairly well here. Looking for that again at support around $58 and $61 here above for a potential entry points. Can even come down to $55 if the overall market takes an extreme look, because that's that 618 reversal there. What app packet does ask for? What did you ask for? Workhorse? Yeah, let's look at Workhorse. Oh, there goes the yellow symbol again. Yeah, work has been absolutely astonishing. I'm really impressed, and just again on this movement in the stock here. Was it up like 8-ish% today? I can't really see the screen. So I'm just like slouching in my chair because my stomach is killing me. With this moving averages, we talked about this basically this overall trading in this box range. And really, if it starts breaking above that $19, $20 limit, which it has finally closed above that $20 limit that we talked about before. So seeing, again, that huge range kind of come in place, I think if the overall market wasn't down I think this really could have ran some more. We're seeing a lot of volume come in here. RSI and the overall volumes on oscillators looking really strong here. Again, the next target we're looking for is to really close and break above that 2290 and even really hit that target in the short term that we had in mind around the 2548 there. Band of brothers ain't going down together. That's for Tesla. Yeah, I think a lot of people potentially bought Tesla today, to be quite honest. Like, I think people are like, "What? It's down to $100, $90. I have to buy some, right?" This stock was 2,000, but I think our mindset's a little bit different, of a little bit much longer time horizon. Because again, I think we really kind of believe in the target. All right, sorry, the chat's updating here. That they're getting YouTube messages, yellow flags here. 1 second. Interesting as well. That has been a very interesting day. Let's kind of go back. I want to look at the QQQs for you guys real fast and kind of look at this overall really strong thing we've kind of come back to. Again, we've came back to that 55 SMAs. That's around that $270. I don't want to call it a bottom, but that has been a very interesting buying there, movement there. Looking for that potentially to hold. If it doesn't hold, we're really looking lower to around the 250 level. Just be mindful of that. Is Tesla forming a base? I don't think Tesla's forming a base because it has been falling drastically for the past couple days. A base has to hold for at least a couple days. Potentially, a longer the base, better the thing. Stronger the base, bigger the move. Okay, there goes another YouTube yellow flag. We would love to see around the 326 level, but again, anything can happen in Tesla. We can go lower, higher. We can make a V-shaped recovery. I don't know, but these moving averages are looking very interesting there. Let's see here. Ford. Yeah, Ford was up today. Did you see that? So Ford, we did actually buy a couple calls in this. Even though looking for a potential breakout to that $7.46 to see this momentum go higher. I think Ford has some good stuff up their sleeves, and I don't think they're going to let GM go and just get an 11% stake for free for Nikola's company. Ryan says, Doc, that's an interesting one. I looked at that one today as well. Even though it had a huge earnings run up and then kind of really give it all back kind of to this moving averages here, I kind of want to highlight this a little bit more. Again, look at that 50 SMA there. That's basically where it's coming down to. This is basically, it's taking a timeout. It's regaining its senses. It's going to try to figure out if it's going to go higher or lower from this point. And tomorrow, the rest of the week's going to really tell on how this market could drive. If we get a really strong rebound and a dead cat bounce, so a dead cat bounce, we could see a movement back up to around the 226, or basically what the 50% reversal is in the market, which is basically around here, around 245, and just come right back down. It can go a little bit higher, but it's very difficult to buy anything with substantial size because you don't know the bottom. You don't know what other people are thinking. It's going to be very methodical buying and what you really understand and what you're willing to hold. Yeah, YouTube is cutting out very hard. This is YouTube is not receiving enough videos to maintain streaming as such. Viewers will be experiencing buffering and dropping off. Yeah, why doesn't Ford just buy Workhorse, right? Right? That's easy. Uh, bu- 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 oh, Toyota sold their position and walked away. Good for them. That's why I love Toyota. Yeah, if you're talking about hydrogen, the alternative fuel cell is going to be very difficult. All right, I'm getting so many yellow flags and it's like dinging at me, YouTube. I'm gonna go for a little bit longer, folks, and then we'll try to do another live stream tomorrow. Hopefully, we get some better stuff going forth. Jim says TTA. Is that Indian company? TATA. Isn't it some? Isn't there an Indian motor company called Tata? Lulu earnings players are. Lulu got hit. I totally forgot they had earnings today. Like I haven't. Again, I've been completely out of the market, literally, physically, and mentally, for the couple days, and I'd come back, and it's literally somewhat of a bloodbath. With that movement again, we're talking about that. It's like around 127, 130. Let's just make a nice even number and say the 230 or 330 level. That's around this level here. Potentially looking for somewhat of a bottom here and kind of seeing how this plays out. But with earnings, anything can happen. Needs to be super mindful on how everything is perceived in the morning. If we get more selling in the morning, this can easily go further to the downside too. We're looking to that 325 to that 316 dollar limit there.